Marc Lotter here, former special assistant to the president, press secretary for Vice President Mike Pence, Laurie Watkins, Democratic strategist, former Obama policy advisor. The one part about the new desk makes it really hard to shake hands and welcome people, but, fist bumps. Laurie, to you, this was a governor, I think fair to say, was on the wrong side in terms of public opinion of masking kids, shutting down schools, the teachers' unions, vaccine mandates. Is putting him out, is there a danger, I should say, in putting him out as the person in the administration to talk about kids' education?
Thank you for having me on your show. Absolutely not. Standing up for kids, saying that they deserve to go to school and not be hungry and be fed, especially during a pandemic when schools are closed, and that was how the majority of these kids were being fed. I thought that was a bold move, one that might not have been popular with the overall electorate, but it definitely was for his state because he was reelected. The way that he handled the George Floyd situation, the way that he deployed the National Guard, the way that he stood up and made that case federal versus state, I think that those are all points that he took action on.
The New York Times may not agree. The New York Times may not agree with you on the George Floyd riots. I think it's interesting where you're seeing it. Marc, this is interesting though, and I had to read this a couple times and picked up on it. An anecdote to the negative politics of gender identity and race. Is this where the happy warrior message for Democrats is winning independence?
I don't think so. I mean, they're trying to define her, and they're trying to define him, and they can't do it on their record. They can't do it on their policies because they're wholly unpopular, to the point that all the things that Kamala Harris said in 2019, she's now trying to walk away from. And so naming her vice president the czar of anything is really a unique idea, since she doesn't want to be known as the border czar, which she was.
Well, elections are about the future, my friend.
Elections are about the future, and if you want lower prices, a secured border, that's Kamala Harris is not the way to go.
Okay, I get the point, but in terms of what they're talking about, Laurie, we keep seeing with Tim Walz things coming up. We brought this up yesterday. More information now about an imam, Azad Zaman, who was, shall we say, a Hitler enthusiast and a Hamas apologist, who Walz said this about back in 2018. Take a listen.
I would like to, first of all, say thank you to Imam. I am a teacher, so when I see a master teacher, I know it. And over the time we've spent together, one of the things I've had the privilege of is seeing the things in life through the eye of a master teacher to try and get the understanding, listening today to the stories and what it means.
Another one of the things missed in the vet.
I wouldn't say that that was missed in the vet. If you want to talk about vetting, we should talk about J.D. Vance, the vice president.
No, I actually like to talk about the topics we bring up. That's why we do it. Go ahead.
Yes. I think many of us sitting around this table have been in situations with people that later on they went to do something that...
He had done it before, by the way.
Okay.
Well, the post was in 2015 and 2016, but go ahead.
Well, I will say that he's come out and said that he wishes that he wouldn't have done that. Let's move forward. But again, we can talk about so many gaffes on the other side. And individuals that we can talk about former President Trump saying are very nice people and very good people and don't deserve to go to prison, et cetera, that have committed crimes and been convicted of crimes. So we can go there as well.
I've never been a big fan of the whataboutism defense because I think it always saying that we are just all the same rather than one side saying that we should be better than the others. But I think this brings up an interesting point. Where, Marc, does the defining Tim Walz, defining Kamala Harris attempt by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance go? You've had a month-long rollout for her, 2 weeks for him. You now have a one-week infomercial for the DNC. Nothing has stuck on these people. None of the attacks landed by Republicans have stuck. You only have a week left?
No, I mean, I think obviously you saw that the Trump-aligned PACs and the campaigns are about ready to drop $100 million on them in the swing states, and I think that's where the defining moment will start to come. We knew this honeymoon period was going to go. It's eventually the bubble's going to burst. I mean, she can't even do an interview or tell you what any of her policies are because she doesn't have any yet. But what I think this shows, the Tim Walz selection. I mean, this is her first pick. This is her first decision as a presidential nominee. And she basically gets a guy who has embellished his military service, who's obviously a radical, liberal, leftist, wacko governor. He's now hanging out with Muslims, pro-Nazi and pro-Hamas, anti-Israel types. That's her first selection. That shows you who she is.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.